Hello, class. Welcome to Chapter 12, Handout 1 answer video. We got one of each kind of our problems here. And we got a couple using the non-discounted method and a couple using the discounted method. So a payback, an ARR, a net present value, and an an IRR problem. Okay, one of each. Get my touch drawing enabled here. So here we go. So pull some advertising. We got a new information system. Initial investment equals $1.8 million here. And we have two options. We can either earn cash flows of $750,000 per year, or it gives us an option of annual cash flows. Calculate the payback period. Okay, so for an A, we're going to calculate the payback period. We can take our initial investment, and when the cash flows are uniform, when they are the exact same, we just divide by the cash flow. So we're going to get $750,000 a year. When you see it's going to take us 2.4 years to pay it back here when it comes to this new information system. If the cash flows were different, we'd have to start adding them up until we reached our initial investment. So in year one, our cash flow was $450,000. So I make two columns up here. Okay, have a yearly and a total. In year two, the cash flows are $225,000. So in total now, we have gotten $625,000 recovered. Remember, we are trying to recover that initial investment of $1.8 million. So in year three, we got 600,000. Now our total recovery is 1.225 million. We still have not hit that whole 1.8 million yet. In year four, we get another 600,000. Now we're at 1.825. So now we've gone over. Okay, so what that is telling me, that somewhere in between year three and year four, we hit that 1.8 million mark. Okay, probably closer to year four, since our total came out to 1.825, but it didn't take the whole 4 years, okay, because we actually got there. So what we need to do here is at the end of year three, we take our total investment of that 1.8 million, subtract out what had we collected in the first 3 years, because our answer is going to be 3 plus something, at least 3 years, but not all the way to 4. So we're going to have a decimal in there. So how do we find that decimal? Well, first we find out how much did we still need to collect in year 4, 575. How much did we collect? Whoops. Zero. 600,000. So it's the 3 plus the 575, what we still need to collect, divided by how much we did collect in that year. It comes out to equal 3.96 years. Okay, really close to 4. But that is how you would do a payback period question. Okay, next, let's calculate the ARR. So Kane and Company here invested $8 million in a new product line. The life cycle of the product line is projected to be 8 years with the following net income stream. This question is a little bit tricky for one reason. Because the first thing to calculate the ARR, it is net income divided by initial investment, right? And I shouldn't say that's net income, it should be average net income. So to find an average net income, you just add them all up and divide by how many you have, right? We have 1, 2, or let's start over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are given 7 incomes When you add them all together, comes out to 640,000. So you would think divide that by 7, right? But no. They expect the project to be 8 years, so we divide it by 8 to get our average income of, whoops. I'm having a brain fart here. Yeah. I see what I'm doing wrong here. I'm just gonna, let's just erase this. It's like something wasn't looking right to me, and I figured out what it was. I miswrote something from my page, okay? So when I add up these 7 amounts right here, that's where I get our total income of 6,400,000 divided by that 8 years. Making our average net income 800,000. Okay, so then 800,000 divided by the initial investment of 8 million. %, ARR. And that would be your answer there. And if you accept or reject the project based off of your company standards. All right, number 3 here, our first net present value problem. Okay, I don't know why it has this on there twice. I made it, I should know. We only need to calculate the net present value using the discount factors. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is find our cash flows. So first we'll look at what is our initial cash flow? What is happening today? Okay, well, today we're going to make an initial investment of 2,880,000 for the investment of the printer. Okay, I'll write it out here. Printer. You also have to set 360 aside for working capital. Okay, and that's it. That's the only thing that happens on this initial cash flow day. Okay. So when we add those together, we're going to get 3,240,000. All right. At the end of years 1 through 4, okay, our cash flows are going to equal our income. So we have revenues, 2,700,000. We take out our expenses, 1.62 million. Okay, so it means in years 1 through 4, $1,080,000 at the end of each year is coming in as revenue. Okay, in year 5, we're still going to get the net income of 1,080,000, but we are also getting our working capital returned. It's the working capital. And we also have a salvage value of $360,000 on the piece of equipment. So we'd sell it for $360,000. So $1,800,000 is the amount of cash we expect to collect at the end of year 5. Okay, so that's step 1, prepare to schedule the projected annual cash flow. So initially, we're going to pay out 3.24 million. We're going to get 1,080,000 in income in years 1 through 4. In year 5, we're going to get that income plus return some working capital and salvage. So total cash flows of 1.8 million that year. Now we are ready to calculate the net present value. So our initial, we do not need to do any calculations. Remember, it's happening today. It is already at its present value. Okay. At the end of year 1, we're going to take our cash flow, the $1,080,000 in revenue. Okay. And this is where you're going to have to go to your chart. Okay, on your homework and test questions, it's going to be linked right there on the question. You hit it, it's going to take you to the direct chart. Okay, we're doing present value. If you're trying to do this on your own, you would have to go to your book to get the charts. Okay, I did not put any online for you. Okay, I forget what page number they're on, but there's 2 different types of present value charts. Okay, for our net present value charts, I am always using the present value of 1. Okay, when we do the internal rate of return questions, I will be doing the present value of an annuity. Okay, I'm not going to go into great detail on what the difference between those 2 is in this specific class. If you can get it from the book, great. But this is a highly detailed, it's tough enough to teach online, but especially in 3 days for the chapter, okay? So I just want you to remember that whenever you're doing a net present value problem, you're going to use the present value of 1. Chart's going to look something like that, okay? As you can see, maybe if you can see, I got my interest across the top, and I got my time periods down the left-hand side. So in year 1, my N is also T for time. My N is 1 year. And my I here is the 8% that they're expecting to get on the return. So if I go to my 8% on my chart and I look at 1 period, the first one down below it, I get a factor of 0.92593. So when I multiply those out, the present value of that is $1,004,000, and that is rounded, okay? So now I do year 2. My N now becomes 2, or my periods, and my I stays 8. My amount of cash flow is the same, but now when I go in my chart and I look at 8% down to 2 periods, my factor here becomes 85734. When I multiply it out, now the present value of this 925, 927. Makes sense, right? Year 1 and year 2, we were receiving the same amount of cash at the end of the year. The further away it is from me now at the end of year 2, it's actually, the money I receive there is actually worth less to me today. Kind of what this is saying here. Another way to look at it, for year 2, if I had $925,927 and I put it in a bank for 2 years that gave me 8% yearly interest, at the end of those 2 years, I would have $1,080,000. Kind of another way to look at it. So we do this for all of these. With an I of 8 and an N of 3, my factor now becomes 0.79383. And when we multiply those out, 857, 336. Year 4, now my N is 4, my I is still 8. Still getting the same cash flows in year 4. But now my factor is 0.73503. 793, 832. And finally, year 5, I'm now with an N at a 5 and an I equals 8. My cash flows for year 5 were 1,800,000. And my factor is now down to 0.68058. That. And now when we add all these together, that equals our net present value. In this case, it comes up to 1,562,143. It is above zero. That is a very good project. We are getting at least our 8% return. We can't really tell what we're getting. We could do an IRR analysis probably and find out what we're getting. But we know we're getting at least 8%. We got a great net present value. Go ahead and accept that project. All right, our IRR problem. So remember, if we're going to calculate IRR, it is the it is the yearly cash flow when it is uniform. No, it's not. Oh, having a tough day today. Let's erase that. Okay. How about that? Again, IRR is going to equal our investment divided by our yearly cash flow. Okay, and that's going to give us a number. And from that number, we're going to have to go to our charts. But here, that was our investment, 11,551,000 divided by 968. Our yearly cash flow, when it says it will produce net cash savings, that is the same as producing cash flows into the company. They're saving us that money, it's not going out. So it's like a cash flow coming in. So we divide it by 1.8 million. We get that to equal 6.41776. Okay, that is our factor number. Now, again, here you have to go to your charts. Remind you if you're doing this on homework or on a test, it's going to have a link to it right there in your question. Try to do this before. You need your annuity chart for this one, okay? Remember, all IRR questions use the annuity chart, and for all NPV questions, use the present value of 1. So what I would do here is when I look at my chart, I would look at my periods. And I know that I have 10 years. Okay, so I look at my 10 and I would just start scrolling across. And it is not till I get to 9%, my chart, 10 years for 9% says 6.41766. That's as close as we're going to get right there. So we have a 9%. Okay, do we take it or not? We're not really sure because we do not know what the required rate on this one is. Okay, so here's how you do those questions. Okay, try to get through handout 2. We can practice again and then check out that video and you'll be all prepared for your exam. Good luck.